Good day, Internet. This is DTNS Live for Tuesday, March 18th, 2025. From Studio Animal House, I'm Sarah Lane.
From Studio 7 in Los Angeles, I'm Tom Merritt.
From Studio Colorado, I'm Shannon Morse.
And I'm the show's producer, Roger Chang.
Daily Tech News Show Live is made possible by its listeners. If you're not listening, we're not talking. It's like quantum. So thank you, Michelle Sergiu, Kirk Stephenson, Miranda Janelle, and we got 3 new patrons today. Everybody welcome Jordan, Sajayan, and Raven.
Woohoo! Yay!
New patrons, new patrons, new patrons.
Boy, do we love new patrons. I mean, it's like a bowl of ice cream, but better.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
Welcome, everyone, to DTNS Live. This is the show where we discuss the tech news to, help us all understand it a little bit better. Shannon Morse, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm pretty happy to be here and having a pretty good month. Very busy. So I'm happy to hang out for an hour and talk tech.
Absolutely.
Very busy. What Sailor Moon things would be coming up, Sailor Moon, that would make you busy?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe a couple of flights to Seattle and New York City to go see Sailor Moon live musical performances. One of them is in Times Square. Very excited. I'm going to buy all the VIP merch and get high fives from the cast.
I'm like...
I'm not a nerd.
Tom's going to Japan. Shannon's doing
going to
Sailor
Japan.
Moon stuff. I don't know what, Roger, you're up to, but I'm like, I'm jealous.
I might
go
be
with
good.
Shannon.
Might be going.
Yes. Shannon, can I get
me.
your luggage? I promise I'll fit. Just, give me an air hole, and it'll be fine.
I can fit in checked bags. I don't know why I know this, but I do.
Are there
I
photos?
have tested it before. Yes, there is a photo.
I got in an overhead compartment once, and I fit.
What?
Yeah. Just to see. It's a long story. That is a story for another day. But we are here to talk about tech news, and you are here as well to hear about tech news. Mm-hmm. So let's get right into the quick hits.
Google has agreed to acquire cloud security firm Wiz, not The Wiz, that's a musical, just Wiz, W-I-Z, for $32 billion. That is more than double what Alphabet paid for Motorola Mobility when they paid $12.5 billion back in 2012 and then sold it 2 years later. Wiz reached $100 million in annual recurring revenue within 18 months of launch and had a $10 billion valuation by 2023. So it's going to add to the balance sheet at Google as well.
Some Roku users have reported seeing video ads play automatically before the OS home screen loads. As you can imagine, not everybody is happy about this. Several users reported seeing an ad for Moana 2. A Roku spokesperson confirmed that the autoplay ads are part of a test. Don't panic. Not a permanent feature of Roku OS. Not yet.
At its annual GTC conference, Nvidia just announced the Blackwell Ultra family of chips shipping later in 2025. So a better version of Blackwell. But the big star of the show was the company's next-gen Vera Rubin chips. Those are set to ship next year in 2026, and they include Nvidia's first custom CPU based on the Olympus design. They will be twice as fast as last year's Grace Blackwell CPU. You knew that it was going to be fast, but there you go. Nvidia also announced Dynamo, an open source framework that can boost token output by 30 times per GPU when running DeepSeek R1 on a large cluster. And the next chip after Blackwell will be Feynman, expected in 2028.
The U.S. Commerce Department has banned the Chinese AI model DeepSeek from all government-issued devices over security concerns. Staff were notified by email and were instructed not to download or use or access any apps or desktop programs or websites linked to DeepSeek.
The U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency, or CISA, is working to contact 130 probationary employees who were let go in February. A U.S. district judge ordered the government to reinstate those employees last week. CISA says it does not have proper contact info for all employees, so posted a message on its website.
Were you fired? Let us know how to contact you.
They should do those billboards, like, have you been in an accident? Were you fired by us? Call this number.
Right? We just don't know who you are. Come on back. Google announced new health tools for search in Android, now supporting queries in Spanish, Portuguese, and Japanese. A What People Suggest feature will highlight user-generated health advice from forums. Please have caution when using those. Google also launched medical records APIs for Health Connect, so apps can access data like allergies, what medication you're using type thing. The Pixel Watch 3 is readying an FDA-approved loss of pulse detection feature by the end of March. And new open AI models, not OpenAI, but open AI models, for drug discovery called TX Gemma is set for release in the coming weeks. The company also added a feature to its Gemini chatbot called Canvas. OpenAI also has a feature called Canvas, so, we're keeping up with the Joneses here, which gives Gemini users an interactive space where they can create, refine, and share writing and coding projects. AI can obviously make us all more creative, but it also tends to scare creative people who say, no, you're going to replicate what I do, and I am afraid of this. More than 400 notable Hollywood folks. I could go on and on, but I'll just list a few. Ben Stiller, Mark Ruffalo, Paul McCartney, perhaps you heard of him, Kate Blanchett, among many others, have asked in an open letter to the U.S. administration to protect copyright laws from what they call AI exploitation. The letter argues that Google, OpenAI, but also other AI companies, not just the two, want to weaken copyright protections because they want to train their models on creative works and they don't want permission or compensation, or to give compensation. Unsurprisingly, many in the entertainment industry do not like this idea at all. OpenAI and Google have both argued that fair use and data mining exceptions are essential to build AI products that work correctly. So I thought we could go around the horn and I know this sounds like, haven't we talked about this before? Yes, book publishers, internet publishers, people who work in Hollywood. Everyone's kind of afraid about this, but what do we actually think this does to change things?
I'll start.
Let's start with you, Tom.
Okay. So this is in response to OpenAI and Google and a few others making submissions to the Office of Science and Technology Policy in the U.S., asserting that training data is fair use, and also advocating, among many other things in the submission, but advocating that fair use should be enshrined in law. A lot of people don't realize that fair use in the United States is a defense. There is no fair use law. You are guilty of copyright infringement, but you can have a fair use defense that says I shouldn't be penalized because I was making a fair use. And there's 4 factors for fair use. It has to do with how much you use, what the purpose of the use was. Did you undermine the marketplace for the originals? That kind of thing. What the AI companies are suggesting is that training data is a fair use because it's transformational. Yes, you can make a model very specifically output a copy of something, but it takes a lot of work. Generally, models don't just output copies of things. That's not what it's meant to do, and it's not a normal thing for it to do. And even companies have put in safeguards to try to stop them from doing it. So they're saying there is not a copy of your work in the training data. And that is true. Training data is used to make a model that weights words. So the words just inform, like, this word should usually follow that word. It's not exactly what happens, but it's kind of the effect. So what they're arguing is, since we transform the work, it should be a fair use. Courts haven't decided whether that's a legitimate defense or not. We still, as Sarah said, have lots of cases working their way through the courts to try to determine that. But what I like about this, what I like about the Hollywood elites putting their 400 famous names on a piece of paper, is it's pushing the government to decide in law what the line should be. Should it be that training data is fair use? Should it be that it's not fair use? Should it be some totally new category where it's, well, you can use it under these conditions, but people have a right to opt out, etc. Whatever it is, I think it's good that we have this conversation because I, for one, think current fair use rules allow for training data, but I know a lot of people don't like the fact that it does. And that's what our laws should be, is like what we as a society agree should be the fair use of things. So we probably need a new rule for this stuff. That's the old refrain I've been saying for weeks and weeks.
And I would add, we need a more sophisticated conversation about it beyond just what fair use is. Because when people look at this, if the people wanting the training data were either a small scrappy startup or a university-based research project, I think you would find less pushback. But because this is coming from what people consider to be either very wealthy or very influential
big
tech companies,
scary
it's
big
the
tech.
scale and who it's coming from that sort of colors the entire discussion and debate around it. Because on one side, it's very easy. It's like, well, obviously these big tech companies with deep pockets are going to use our work and for free, and then create new products on which they can then charge other people for. If it were to say like, hey, I'm from the University of Southern California, I'm doing this research project, I made a website based on all this training data, free for anyone to use as long as, my bandwidth allocation for the month.
Which is exactly what happens. Yes. Yeah. You're describing the reality of what happens.
Yes. And so, it's that is current. I mean, if Google was to say like everything we trained on this, all those people get to use the service for free until they pass away, maybe it might change minds. But right now, I can tell right now, yes, the aspect of it being AI, generative AI training data is just one facet of it. The other facet is it's big, very well financed tech companies that do it.
And very well-financed celebrities that are protesting against them. So now we've got billionaires and billionaires arguing. So
you have billionaires. You have billion. I mean, it's a little reductive, but you have billionaires versus billionaires.
Oh no, these are billionaires. Some of these celebrities, for sure. Like they're close anyway.
I mean, Shannon, as somebody who's definitely a creative at heart, where do you fall on this?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I've argued before, even when we were talking about books on previous AI conversations, that there should be some kind of regulations around how these kind of data sets can be used for AI, because we know that they're going to be, and we know that there is going to be data mining and some kind of usage involved in that format. And that's the way that our technology is going. So there has to be something there. But currently, it feels like it's way too vague. There are so many people involved, so many creatives that want to have a say in the matter. And the conversation is extremely nuanced with all the different perspectives that we have. We have technology companies who want to grow their businesses and use AI. And then we have creatives like myself who don't want to get taken advantage of. So I do feel like we need to have some kind of protections in order, maybe not weakening copyright protections, because those do save me at the end of the day from somebody stealing my YouTube content. I mean, straight up, very, very clearly. But at the same time, I should have an option there. And maybe it is opt-outs like Tom mentioned. Maybe we should have an option to opt out, and that should be in some kind of law format. But I think that there should be possibly a new law written as opposed to updating one that currently exists.
Yeah, that was the point of what I was saying earlier, is that we need new law for this because, again, there is no law for fair use. It's all court precedent. It's all defense. That leaves it nebulous. But given precedent, it seems like what you do when you train a model is fair use. It's transformational in the most fundamental way, but people aren't comfortable with that. And so, yeah, I think to get everyone on the same page, you need to have some kind of new law. I think Paul McCartney is a really interesting example of joining this because he has used AI very recently to create a Beatles song. So he's not anti-AI, but he is saying we need rules of the road that are more favorable to creators.
Yeah, I think there are people who understand where we are in the conversation can either say, all right, well, and I think we're all having the conversation. Let's figure out what these rules actually are. Let's instead of just arguing over and over like who's right, who's wrong. People are scared. No one knows what the AI companies are doing. It's like, let's put some rules into effect, and then we all play by those same rules. I think that there are a lot of folks who say, the worst case scenario is what I'm afraid of. And the worst case scenario means you don't need me as a human anymore. Yeah. And people do that with robots too. It's like, okay, well, we're not there yet. But if you're really, really afraid about that, you know, what is the thing that you're actually afraid of? And it's that you don't need me anymore. If you didn't need me on the show anymore because you're like, AI is like better than you, Sarah, I'd be like, that's a super big bummer.
That is a fear of every new technology, right? And it's certainly understandable. I don't think it's likely to be the biggest threat. I think the bigger deal here is that people they like to be asked for their stuff to be used, you know? Yep. And we knew what the rules of the road were before, but we didn't contemplate the idea of like, oh, if I put my stuff freely on the internet, it could be used to train a model for a big tech company like OpenAI. We just didn't imagine that was possible. So now we have to figure out, okay, well, what should there be new rules for that?
Yeah. Well, we got new smartwatches from Core Devices that launched today. They're not called Pebbles, but they're kind of Pebbles, right, Tom?
Yes. In fact, Eric Mijakovsky, who designed the original Pebble smartwatch, which was beloved for its simplicity and its capability and its e-ink screen, its 7-day-long battery life, has created Core Devices to run the Pebble OS. Google open sourced the Pebble OS at some point, and bring back Pebble-like devices. They are called the Core 2 Duo, which is not an Intel chip in this case. It's a Pebble OS watch. Apparently the Duo is for do-over. Has a polycarbonate frame, more than 30 days on a charge because Bluetooth is more efficient than it was back in 2016. Has a speaker, $149, set to ship in July. About 10,000 of those will be available. And then later this year, the Core Time 2. That one has a metal frame. Will have a touchscreen, not multi-touch, just for tapping on complications. Also 30 days of charge, also a speaker, and some step and sleep tracking capability. That one will be $225 shipping in December. These will all work great with Android. They will be able to work with iOS, but won't be able to reply to notifications, along with a few other limitations that are just what happens with iOS. Also, Mijakovsky makes you click on like 6 different checkboxes when you order a Pebble to say, if tariffs make the price go up, I understand I might have to pay more. If I'm using iPhone, I understand I won't get all the features. If there's delays in shipping because of manufacturing problems, I acknowledge that I might not get this in July or December. There's a few other ones there. So he really is saying, like, I just want to make these. I want to know how many people want them, and I will try to make them as fast as possible.
Yeah, I mean, when you're saying, hey, if you want the Core 2 Duo, you got to be the first 10,000 folks. That's definitely not. That's not a big first run. Is there interest out there?
Yeah, I bet he'll sell out. The question is, will he have problems getting parts? Apparently, he got some leftover Pebble parts from one of the suppliers that still had them around. So the frames for the Pebble 2 and the Pebble Time 2 are going to be used for these. It's also not a big advance over the original Pebbles. I mean, there's newer chips, so you get better battery life and all that, but not adding a ton of new features, which I think plays to the Pebble audience. They
it's
are
like the
not
retro
people,
part of it, right?
They want the simplicity, they want the long battery life. Shannon, I know you got to play with the Pebbles in the past. Do these new Pebbles catch your eye?
They really do. I mean, one of my biggest arguments that I run into when I'm reviewing smartwatches is either the battery only lasts a couple of days, or it's just way too big for my teeny tiny wrist. Like, I'm currently wearing one right now, and this is like the perfect size for my wrist, but it only lasts for maybe one day. Like, it dies after 24 hours. It's the Samsung watch. It's kind of terrible. So I'm very interested in the Core 2 Duo and the Core Time 2. These have all the basic features that I would look for as somebody who wants to wear a smartwatch. They have the water resistance. The step and sleep tracking looks really interesting. I would love to know how accurate that is. And the fact that the battery can last for 30 days without needing a charge, like, is that real? Will that really work? I'm excited. And they're inexpensive too, comparatively to other models on the market, which makes sense because they do seem very, very basic.
They're not that inexpensive. I mean, it's not they're like
they're
$50. You know, they're competitively priced, I would say.
Yeah.
There are FE or like there's the fan edition model that Samsung sells. That one is within the same ballpark of these prices too. So there are comparative ones on the market currently that can do more potentially and run different apps than these can. So you do have competition in the market currently, but if you want something that's super basic and you do want something that lasts for 30 days, that's a huge positive option. Like that's a great option.
There's a
cool.
bunch of Garmin's
I kind of want one.
There's a bunch of Garmin's out there that are competitively priced to this, do more tracking.
Yeah, but they're huge and bulky and they don't look very pretty.
There we go. So it's about the design.
Aesthetics. Yes, it has to be aesthetically pleasing too. So like these look like they would be the right size for my little dainty wrist too. And that's part of the reason why I would want to wear one of these every day. So like how wearable is it going to be?
Roger, are you tempted?
I stopped wearing watches 20 years ago, and partly it was because when I got a cell phone, it did all the same things. But I am with Shannon because the battery life for me, watches aren't just technology. They're also just jewelry. They're just things that you have on you. And it's one of those things you don't want to have to think too hard about, especially if you already have a plethora of things you need to keep charged. Also, it's discreet. The last thing I need to have on my wrist is if it's the same price point, is either something very like outlandish or very ostentatious, or something that just seems like everyone else has. So something that actually it's visually it's very striking because again what the simplicity, but it's the simplicity combined with the fact that it's a 30-day charge, I think makes it a lot more compelling if I were in the market to get a wristwatch.
It doesn't do the fitness tracking though, Sarah. I know that's a big one for a lot of people, including you and me.
Definitely. And I'm also I get good battery life. I would love my Apple Watch to go 30 days. At the same time, it's so ingrained. It's like get up in the morning, charge the watch while you're having your coffee and you're being sedentary where there's not much tracking to be had. Charges in an hour, then I wear it all day and then I wear it when I sleep. The only time I don't wear it is if I'm, taking a shower or there's some other weird reason that I have to take it off. But I used to have this issue with the Versa 2 when I was in the Fitbit ecosystem because the Versa 2 lasted the better part of a week, at least, when it was new and I was wearing it pretty much full time. But, and I know this is sort of a weird kind of counter argument, but it would last so long that I would get off my, the regular cycle of like, this is when I charge my device. I charge it at the same time every day, and that's why I never get into trouble. I would honestly be like, day 8, crap, the Versa 2 died. Because I hadn't thought about it.
Yeah, because you get it, you don't have a regular schedule to charge it. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I can see that happening to me too.
But
I also have a friend who just bought a Casio watch, like a big old, with
Ernest Hemingway, I'm gonna backhand you style watch.
No, just I don't know where she found it, but it's got the buttons and it doesn't really do much besides just be like digital, but it was just so cool back in the day type thing, big blocky thing, and I just I feel like as we continue on with technology, things like the original Pebble, they're going to pull at those same heartstrings of people being like, I like that. I liked how it was. I don't need a lot of bells and whistles. I like this thing. It's the same thing as I used to like vinyl records. I'm into that too.
I think this is more of a nostalgia play, especially because we had that story earlier that the smartphone or the smartwatch market is declining. Mm-hmm. This isn't the time to launch a smartwatch if you're hoping for a growth industry, but there's never a wrong time for a nostalgia play if you've got the people who want it, and there's people who want this.
Yep.
Well, folks, if you want to join the conversation in our Discord, perhaps you're a Pebble fan who is offended by us even saying one single thing against the Pebble. Or, I don't know, maybe you agree with us entirely. We like to hear that too. Join our Patreon, and you can link your Discord account there, patreon.com/DTNS.
So Shannon, you recently did a series of videos demonstrating how a variety of AI tools can touch up photos, make them better, enhance them, take things out. But there's sort of a discussion going on about whether we can still call a result a photograph if it's been altered all that much. So let's talk about this.
Yeah, I'm very excited to talk about this because story time, I have a story time for you. When I started posting all of these videos, I didn't think too much of it. I was just like, technology, tutorial, perspective, let me show you how to do these things. And I started noticing a whole bunch of comments from different people saying like, are these truly photographs? Is this really a moment in time? Is this something that you can relate to? So I'll show you the demos that I did. I showed one that was best face on Samsung. It's just a little YouTube short, and it's a tutorial explaining how you can take a photo. It's a motion photo, so it's taking multiple frames when you're taking this picture and you hit the shutter button, and it will compile all those pictures together to give you the best picture possible, which means if somebody was blinking in one of the frames, it will choose a better frame. If somebody wasn't smiling, it will choose a better frame, and it will straight up replace the face in the photo of multiple different people from several different frames to compile the best picture possible. Same thing with the second tutorial I did, which was object removal. This one will actually look at the picture and you can highlight an object, a person in the background, something that you're holding, and you can remove that item from your picture completely. And Samsung has gotten so good at this that they can actually make basically a generative AI face where that object was removed from so that it'll give you a smile. In my example, I was showing a
wow, that really
that I was
looks like you.
I
mean,
isn't that weird?
Maybe not exactly, but like pretty close.
Yeah, the biggest problem with that was it was way too symmetrical, and I don't have a perfectly symmetrical face. Nobody does. But in the case of AI, often you find it'll make you way too symmetrical. So it kind of gives it away. Then I started messing around with Lightroom, Adobe Lightroom on a desktop. And I'm sure this is kind of old at this point, but I just started using their removal tool, which is also AI. And I found this one was so incredibly good and efficient that you can simply highlight some item, some object that you want to remove from the photo, and it will replace it with something that looks completely realistic. You can't even tell that an object was removed. In my case, I did a before and after of this picture of Edinburgh Castle, and there was some construction happening. I didn't like the construction. It wasn't aesthetically pleasing for myself. So I went in and I highlighted all of the construction, and replaced it with the top of the castle wall. And it also included some trees in the background, a little building in the background.
I was going to say,
don't exist.
Are in your example, it put in a castle that was blocked. Was that a real thing, or did it just decide there ought to be something?
So it added it.
It just decided. It added in its own castle. But unless you've seen pictures of Edinburgh and you're studying the castle itself, you would not know the difference. And it looks so realistic. So I post these photos in this tutorial and I get these comments that say, well, these aren't true photographs. How much are we going to allow AI to change the photographs that we are actually taking, some historical moment in time, to the point where the picture is not actually truly reality anymore? Does it matter to anybody, or what is how do you feel about this?
So, as a big fan of photographs and someone who's dabbled in it, photographs have multiple purposes, right? So if you do a magazine cover and you're a photographer, you're going to be doing certain things that are different than someone who, say, is a photojournalist who is there capturing what happened at the moment at that particular time. And so one has a narrative, one has a commercial aspect, and depending on the other individual, it could be a purely technical thing. I mean, photography, for its history, people have been, they've been altering things within the process, right? A lot of the terms that burning that you have in Photoshop comes from an actual photographic process to do things with the picture in order to get a certain look out of it. And so ultimately it really for me it ends up on how are you presenting it. If you are saying, I, Shannon Morse, am giving you photo evidence of what was actually there when I visited, is different than, hey, I took a picture of this castle. Yeah, I took some things that weren't so pretty out of it. But yeah, that's pretty much what I saw. They're two different things in my eyes.
That's a very, very good distinction. I agree with you, Roger. It's like, yes, if I was, I don't know, let me think of some, crazy news item. If I was there for the JFK parade, right? Took a bunch of photos and then was just like, let's change the color of the car. Let's just kind of,
or let's change it to the Richard J. Nixon parade.
Yeah, let's take some creative liberties. I could do that, but I also wouldn't be a photojournalist at that point. And I think that for the most part, besides maybe a little, changing some light, doing some burning and dodging, to use old photo processing terms, that would be okay. But yes, adding or subtracting things from what would be historical footage, that I think that's where people kind of go like, well, you need to disclose that sort of thing.
Yeah,
or not do it
at
like, all.
Richard Nixon's middle initial was M. This is obviously a fake.
So I'm kind of the perspective that's very similar to both of you, honestly. When it comes to myself taking photos that are going to be used for personal usage, like I'm going to print these out and put them on my wall, or I'm going to share them on social media on my Facebook for my mom, then I'm going to give her the most aesthetically pleasing picture that I can. And if that includes erasing people from my pictures, then I'm going to erase those people from my pictures. If it includes erasing construction from the castle, I'm going to do that because I want to look at these pictures for myself and for my own emotional connection to that picture and see it for its beauty and see it for the time that I was there and the lovely experience that I have. I don't want to see another tourist, a stranger, staring down the barrel of my camera from the background just because they saw me taking a picture, or somebody making a funny face because they see me taking a selfie. I'm going to erase those people from my
And when would
photos.
that ever be a problem for you to do that unless
Exactly.
for some reason it was like, I don't know, somebody came to you and said, was that person at the beach with you that day? And you say, no, look
Clearly
at my photo
not.
evidence.
Yeah.
That kind of, it's like.
Or clearly were,
Of course,
right?
there's some.
Because you
yeah.
could put them in a photo where they were never at, too.
Exactly. Right.
And then you just call it a photo collage, but digital.
I mean, a lot of this.
I think Roger summed it up perfectly, which is it depends on what your photo, a photo isn't a single thing. So photos are more like paintings now than they ever were. Paintings were never perfect representations of what the artist saw. They were what the artist thought would be presentable to people. And that's what we're doing with photos. We're saying, I want to present this image. This is how I want it to look.
Oh, so instead of impressionist.
I see photos, I kind of see photos as an expression of what I want to experience in the world and things that I want to put out there about my experiences. So I will already edit those pictures and add saturation or brighten the undertones or just make it more. Yeah, we all already do that.
We all do that.
So
I mean, but in all honesty, our phones are doing that for us anyway.
That's very true. Yeah, a lot of them do that
we're
as soon as
not all expert photographers. We just have the tools to seem like them. I over the weekend my mom was visiting and I took her to this museum in LA called the Broad, and it's got a lot of Andy Warhols and really cool collection of art, and much of it is photographic kind of multimedia stuff. And I don't look at any of that and say, should have just been the original photo. What are they doing? It's no, this is art. It's art.
Yeah.
You can like it, or you can be like, it's not for me. But that's we get into that conversation of this is artistic, and you can do that. I mean, as long as you're not, I don't know, stealing money from somebody or trying to fool them otherwise in a nefarious way.
And
Yeah.
I know where there's sort of that hesitation because for centuries people in different stages of their life have tried to remove things that they would not want other people to know. And in the Soviet Union, it was very common to eliminate people that suddenly fell out of favor with the party, and you would have a photo that seemed to fit 10 people, but there were only 5 people in it. And so, there's always that little bit, but again, as long as you're not misrepresenting what you're showing, you're not saying like, aha, you totally missed this little, in-law castle next to the actual Edinburgh castle, when I took a picture of it. I think it's fine.
Yeah, I think you're right. We need to be transparent. I'm 100% on board with your description of this. I think we got in the habit of thinking of photos as being harder to alter. Like even when the Soviet Union was doing it, it took a lot of time and resources to do it. That's why everybody didn't alter photos, and now it's easy. So we're back to having to think of photos as alterable, not incontrovertible.
Well, when we're not taking photos, here at DTNS Live, we like to eat and we like to talk about our food. We're not gonna, no, I'm sorry, I'm lying. We're going to talk about food because we're talking about the idea that if you were to be able to take a photo of your food, Roger, you might have some good caloric information that you could then use to either bulk up or slim down.
Yeah, so, calorie counting is something we all try to do, or I stopped doing. But it's something where, as part of our wellness, we want to try to maintain good nutrition. We want to do like, what am I eating? How many calories, fats, carbs, all that. So 2 researchers at NYU at Tandon, a Dr. Pabrody, Panindre, and Professor Sunil Kumar have developed a technology that leverages deep learning AI to determine the nutritional content of a meal based solely on a picture. So say you grab something at a restaurant, you could take a picture of it, and then going through what it's learned, it will try to determine the amount of calories, the protein and carbohydrates, even if the food is maybe covered by a fork or maybe a napkin, it can determine portion sizes. They trained it on a wide variety of foods. So if you throw something that might be uncommon, say like a curry dish, or maybe an ethnic cuisine that is not common in your area, it would still be able to at least have an 80% chance of giving you usable data out of it. And my question to you is this something that anyone would use? Because I would actually use it in order to make sure my kids don't eat too much garbage, which they sort of kind of nag me when they want to do, like whether it's ice cream or donuts or the combination. It's kind of cool to think of using something, especially AI, in a way that seems so innocuous, but also very personal, because we all have very personal tastes on what we eat, and what we eat isn't the same thing as what everyone else eats.
I do use something like this. I use my Net Diary, and I want to acknowledge there are going to be people in the audience probably going to write in and say, like, calorie counting has its problems. Calories aren't necessarily accurate. And that's why I'm glad Roger pointed out that this technology that they're talking about can also include protein, carbohydrates, and fat. So if calories aren't the be all end all of what you want to track, we get that. Not everybody does, but there's all kinds of nutritional information that's scanning for. My Net Diary has a simpler version of this. What my Net Diary has is a database of foods that you know the nutritional content of, mostly about calorie counting in this case, but it does include things like protein and vitamins and all of that. And it has a computer vision algorithm that can recognize what kind of food is on the plate and then look in its database and go, oh, I think it's that food. Let me match it up. That's less accurate than this NYU thing that you're talking about, Roger. But I would love a more accurate version of that, right? Like I am into that, because I have found it to be quite helpful to track what I eat so that I understand how much I'm taking in and can adjust it. It's really, really helped me.
Although, okay, so here's my question. So going back to when I used to wear my Fitbit, this was in the early days of the pandemic when we were all just kind of hanging out, eating banana bread all day. And I was like, I should probably track some calories. It was boredom more than anything. Fitbit Premium has sort of this whole extra layer of wearing your watch and tracking things. And so I was very into that for a couple of months. But I quickly got disillusioned because it's like, and this didn't even have anything to do with taking photos, but even if I'm like, I ate a cheeseburger, it's like, okay, Fitbit Premium would be like, it's this many calories. But it's like, well, what if there were avocados on it? Or what if I like extra mayo? Or there were, if you're not using a packaged food, there were more and more situations where I'm like, but you don't even know how much butter I put into this. It turned into something that became very overly precise. And finally I was like, I'm out. I can't do this. This is starting to feel very obsessive. So if a photo can do this better, I'm into it. But at the same time, it's like, if I make a red sauce, you don't know what's in there. I would still have to be more precise. And maybe this is just like the first jumping off point of
there's
what
a
you would
range
have to do
though.
there's
like most red sauces fall within a range of calories. So as long as you're close, what I found, and again, this is for me, is that tracking made me aware that I was eating a lot more at certain points than I thought, and actually occasionally eating less than I thought. Like it just the logging aspect of it helped me. I am not that super concerned about it being 100% accurate as long as it's close, right? And a red sauce isn't going to be more than a certain amount. So the MyNet diary thing works well enough because, yeah, maybe it doesn't know exactly sometimes, but if I'm like, it's a cheeseburger with avocado, that's in the database. And it can go, well, that's probably about this month. If it's a cheeseburger from Carl's Jr., it knows exactly how much is in it. So
Right.
you can get closer and farther. But as long as I'm in the ballpark, I'm like, I don't have to have it be precise to know, like, I ate more yesterday than I did today. That was what was important for me. This technology that Roger is talking about can actually bring you more precise information, which would be even more helpful.
And the training data set encompasses, they winnowed it down. It was really big. It also made it unwieldy. So they winnowed it down to 95,000 instances across 214 different food categories, which is a lot. But one of the things that Dr. Panindre mentioned was that they took like a hamburger. Hamburgers, whether you buy it in a restaurant, you get a fast food restaurant, or you make it yourself, it's going to have different amounts of protein and all because everyone makes it differently. It's not all the same, and that was one of the things they focused or tried to tackle was the diversity of food. Not just like it's a different cuisine, but it's the same food prepared by 7 or 5 different people.
Can it tell 80% versus 70% versus 90% protein ground beef?
Yeah. And
that's what they were trying to do.
And they got it to around 80%, efficacy rate in terms of the stuff they trialed it with.
I like the idea of using a camera to just tell me a general range because I'm definitely not the kind of person that would calorie count. I'm the kind of person that will sit down with a bag of potato chips and eat them until I'm not hungry anymore. So, like,
fair, totally fair.
I am with you.
I am pulling out my
Guilty
phone, and the reason why I think this would be useful is because I'm already pulling my phone out when I go to a restaurant to take a picture of the pretty plate.
Sure.
So I might as well take a picture and have it tell me like what the calories and protein and carbs and fat are for this specific entree that I'm eating. So it would make it a lot easier, and there's less of a barrier to entry in terms of not having to like type in a bunch of information or tell me like or me tell the app how much of the food that I am eating, because I don't know what the weight is. I can't tell you how many grams I'm eating. I have no idea. I just want to take a picture of like, I don't know, 3 peeps and have it tell me how many calories that is.
That's 1,000 calories.
You're probably right.
I think that's this is a good point you're making, Shannon, is like we don't all need to. I mean, some people are going to be very meticulous about this, but if you just want to be like, you know what kind of calorie intake in general did I have yesterday? Maybe you care about losing weight. Maybe you want to gain weight. Maybe cholesterol is an issue for you. Some years ago took did sort of a blood panel, and my cholesterol was not like, sky high, but they were like, kind of high, for your age and your weight. And I was like, interesting. Maybe I just eat too much cheese. I don't know. I mean, all this data is, even if it's not 100% precise, if you care about it, it will help you be like, I need to change some habits, or I know what my habits are, and I feel comfortable with these habits. Instead of being like, I don't know what kind of calorie intake I take every day. I have no idea.
Clinton is saying, or you could just read the calories off the menu. When you have them.
Does it work when you're running around internationally?
How many
menus
menus
places don't
give
do
you that? I mean, that's
so
relatively new, and
when you make stuff, when you make food yourself, you're not. You will have some calories off the packages, but again, for me, my net diary, if I we made a ground beef dish, we made Loco Moco, if anybody knows what that is, the other day.
So good.
And so for my net diary, I had to be like 1 fried egg, medium size, this many ounces of ground beef, this mushrooms. I used to have to do it that way. Now I can just take the picture and it'll be like, oh, it looks like this much ground beef, this much egg, and I can double check it. Sometimes it's wrong and I can adjust, but that's still faster than adding everything individually. And there was no menu for me to pull a calorie count off of otherwise. So
I feel like the only thing that, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not understanding how great this would be at it, but the only thing it wouldn't know is kind of oil, butter.
I think I can probably tell that kind of stuff from how light reflects and stuff. And it sounds like they're 80% accurate. So it must be able to assess that.
Especially when it can analyze certain curries because not all curries are made with the same ingredients, even though they can have the same
salad dressing. It's like, is it ranch or is it some tahini thing? I mean, they kind of look alike, but they're very different.
They look alike to us, but there must be differences that the computer vision algorithm notices.
I'm sorry, robots.
That's the power of this kind of stuff.
I should put more faith in you.
Well, and the thing is, it's not there to give you the exact count. This is just like, hey, now that I've eaten this, maybe I won't have dessert, or maybe I'll just have an orange.
That's my point, is that it's not about precision. It's about falling within the range and knowing, oh, I ate about 1,800 calories today. Oh, I ate about 2,000 the next day. I definitely ate more today. Let me adjust.
Let me bump it up to 4,500.
Yeah, because I'm doing
what
orange
I'm
theory.
going to do because it's Saturday. Well, if you are maybe planning a trip where you're going to eat a lot of pizza or tacos or otherwise just, Tom, you're going to Japan soon, maybe a lot of really heavy ramen. If you're really looking for detailed information about that commercial flight that you're taking, and you can look all over the world for a lot of details, we have a great tip from you. So take it away, Chris.
This is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler with another Tech in Travel Minute. This is a resource that I'm surprised I never mentioned before, but I keep track of things that I have and I don't see it, and that is flightaware.com. If you're looking for the status of a particular flight, you can just Google the flight numbers, and that's easy. But if you're looking for more detail and more, honestly, nerdy information, FlightAware will tell you what altitude they are traveling at on their trip, will superimpose their route on a map with weather conditions. It's a pretty cool app if you happen to be a flight geek, which I'd have to say I am. FlightAware.com or the FlightAware app, and this is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler.
100% recommend FlightAware. I use it every trip. It's especially useful if your flight hasn't come in. If you're at the gate and you don't see your plane, you can find out where it is. Like, oh, it's only 5 minutes out. I'm not going to panic. Or, oh, it hasn't taken off from Denver yet. Crap. Maybe I should start looking into alternate flights. So, among many
but
other
Tom,
things.
the airlines themselves will always tell you this information.
They are getting better about that. Delta now has the "Where is my plane" built into their app, but I'm still checking FlightAware.
They should have "Where's my pilot." I have a story about that, but
sometimes you'll have the plane there and the
Did you ever find your pilot, Roger?
No, they actually told us our flight was canceled because they couldn't find the pilot.
Because the crew, sometimes crews go overtime and then they can't find replacement crews. That happens sometimes.
When my mom was flying into Burbank Airport from up north where she lives, I got a text from her like, the pilot's sick. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, we're just going to sit here until we find another pilot. They got another one.
That's good.
Somebody showed up.
Most of the time they do, but I've had that happen too, where they're like,
I've had that happen too, and then the flight does not fly. All right, well, let's check out the mailbag.
Adam sent this email about cable and streaming. Adam says, we love watching shows like Amazing Race, Survivor, and Masked Singer, all of which have spoilers. so we want to watch those shows the same night they air. Unfortunately, the only way to do this on streaming services like Hulu or Paramount Plus is to watch them live at exactly the time they air. So the only solution we found that works for us is to record them all on our cable DVR. Then, when we can get to them, we start watching off the DVR. So cable enables us to watch all our favorite shows on our own time. We also tried this briefly with YouTube TV, but the user experience was frustrating, and it was the same price as we were paying for Uverse cable. So at least for now, cable is still valued in our household and will actually be sad when it goes away or becomes too expensive to keep. Uverse being the same price as YouTube TV, I want to know your Uverse deal, because that is not normal, but good for you. I'm glad you got that. The DVR functionality on online-only services like YouTube TV and Hulu Plus Live and DirecTV Stream has gotten better probably since the last time you used it, but it's still not the same as if you have a local DVR. But that's an interesting use case where he's like, we need to watch it as soon as possible after it airs. And sometimes if you don't watch it on the live stream, like on Paramount Plus, they'll stream your local CBS station. You won't get it until the next day. And so there's a gap there when you might get spoiled. That's it. That's interesting, Adam.
I mean, when it comes to spoilers, I'm just like, if you really, really care, you just have to stay off the internet because you're going to get spoiled.
Yeah.
Someone's going to spoil something, and not even to be mean, it's just, you're going to be like,
accidentally. You'll be like avoiding the spoilers, and then someone will just mention it in a totally unrelated conversation sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, you're reading an article, from one of your favorite publications about something else, and there's,
when we found out Roger Chang was the GOAT in last night's Masked Singer, the Giants game surprised us.
I have never been a hooked animal in my life.
Well, that wasn't the point. That was.
Sorry, different goat.
Folks, if you have a story like Adam's, please share it with us. You can send your comments to feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com.
Shannon Morse, a pleasure as always. We know you are very busy when you're not hanging out with us, so let folks know where they can keep up with your latest work.
Thank you, Sarah Lane. Yes, youtube.com/Shannon Morse, just like my name is spelled. I have a bunch of reviews that have been coming out. My favorite video that I just came out with was about the Sony tech that they're building into future TVs. It's very futuristic. It's these RGB mini LEDs that are going into the back part of the televisions. It's so cool to see in real life. I had such a blast getting to see this technology, and you can hear all about it and learn how all that technology works, as well as all my other reviews on my YouTube channel.
Go check it out, folks. youtube.com/Shannon Morse, like the code, MOR.
Yes, like Morse code.
Yeah. Folks submit titles if they're watching live. It's one of the fun things for watching live on YouTube or Twitch or even LinkedIn. In the Twitch chat and in our Discord chat, you can submit a title using the bang-s command, or you can go to dtns.showbot.tv during the show. You can also vote on the titles that have been submitted. Right now, Batfink 2001 is leading the vote with large language meals. As a large language meal, I'm delicious.
That's good. I like that.
Right behind that. That was a good one. That was a very good one. Right behind that, Larry in Atlanta with Google takes a whiz. Literally true.
Yes,
they are taking the company name.
It plans to.
I guess the deal isn't closed till 2026. They won't have taken the whiz until then. It's a long whiz.
Yeah,
time. I mean, to take.
It's it's an acquisition after all. Yeah.
We also have ChatGPT time from Badfink 2001. Billionaires versus Billionaires from Zoe Brings Bacon. Replace Your Face from Nick with a C. The Not Pebble also from Zoe Brings Bacon. Aesthetics for Your Dainty Wrists from Cornpone Telephone. Sarah, what did we go with?
Well, we went with... Our title today from Batfink 2001 is Large Language Meals.
Large Language Meals.
Yay.
Yeah.
Love it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Batfink 2001.
Although, special shout out to Zoe's. I'll raise you 4,500 calories. I liked that one too.
I didn't see that one. Good catch. I'll raise you 4,500 calories. I have a friend.
Pretty sure I've eaten 4,500 calories often.
It's called Thanksgiving.
Who's doing Orange Theory, who is regularly like, I have to eat 3,500 calories plus every day because I'm just burning that much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, marathon runners say the same thing, right? It's like carb loading, actually a big part of being okay at
the night
for
the
running
night
for 7 hours straight.
Like, she's getting up in the middle of the night hungry because she's burning so many calories. It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
After
I'm just hungry because I want
a lot.
leftover pizza.
Well, yeah, that's why I get up in the middle of the night hungry.
I know you're not supposed to midnight snack, but come on.
Come on.
The pizza's just sitting there.
We are very thankful that people support us in all the various ways so that we can have that leftover pizza made possible by you. Big thanks to everybody watching us on LinkedIn, watching us on YouTube, watching us on Twitch. We had a hype train today, so got lots of bits from Zoe Brings Bacon and other folks. Thank you. Psycho Motors resubscribed for the 56th month on Twitch. We got Geogon resubscribing at Tier 1 for the 48th month. They've been subscribed total for 58 months. PC Milesy back for the 52nd month. Good to see ya. Net Guy Green says, glad to renew. Resubscribed at Tier 1. They've been subscribed for 69 months. And KUS Newer is a new follower on our Twitch. Thanks to everybody who follows us there. And big thanks to Ruger and Janny, who gave us raises on our Patreon. Thank you so much. Very, very much appreciate that. If we do a good job, we hope you consider giving us a raise like Ruger and Janny did. Thank you. Patreon.com/DTNS.
And if you haven't checked out Apple Vision Show recently, Eileen Rivera and I decided to launch a show over a year ago. We're in the 50s now to pick apart all things Apple. We talk about hardware, software, lifestyle, entertainment, and what we think the future holds for the show. It's the Apple Vision Show. Get it? We're loving it. We hope you do too. You can listen and subscribe at applevisionshow.com. You can also watch us live here on DTNS Live, Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern. That is 2000 UTC, and you can find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live. We're back tomorrow with Scott Johnson talking about game influencers and their impact on the game industry. Talk to you then.
The DTNS family of podcasts, helping each other understand.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.